Cecilia Wright, 1151 Lake Drive. So at the suggestion of one of our supervisors, what I'm going to do is we're going to call up the next one as well so that we can just have you at the ready as soon as the next person is done. So that's Mr. Pomerantz. Dick Pomerantz is 1005 Robin Drive. Can have you next. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. I appreciate the attention that you've spent to the details and allowing us to comment on them. I've sat through every meeting but one, and I think it's a shame that it was left to the very end to have comments from the public, because that's who's going to be impacted. I doubt the people that are representing Toll Brothers or the people that they had as specialists live in the area that's being impacted. I highly doubt it's a personal issue for them. Maybe it is, but I doubt it. Your decisions are irreversible. You are holding a very heavy weight on your shoulders. This is something that's going to impact not just the people that are here and concerned, but their children, their children's children, and their children's children, and so on. So you are looking at hundreds of years of your decision and what people will think of what goes on with the property and why the decisions have been made the way they were. I wouldn't welcome that for myself. I think that it is a difficult and a challenging decision that you have, but I think you should keep it in the foremost of your mind that this is something that is not just offhanded or something that can be taken in a careless manner. The differences are numerous for the area. Traffic has been the major concern because we live with it every day. The traffic is horrible. The traffic is not attended to, and the roads stink. There's potholes everywhere. When you look at 202, they're backed up to Matlack Street on a regular basis. So traffic is something that needs to be considered whether the houses are built or not built. But we have significant impacts on our schools as represented by a representative of the school district. The views that will be impacted by a specialist that spoke a couple of meetings ago. We have historical connections that are impacted, sewage, and a significant increase in the township costs, whether that's obvious or not. I think preserving the Brandywine Battle area is of utmost importance because of the historical significance and not replaceable. It's something that we cannot really ignore. Because I'm in research and it's sort of something that I'm concerned about, I looked at the extensive conditions around Toll Brothers. And when you Google Toll Brothers, what comes up are many lawsuits, many, hundreds of lawsuits that Toll Brothers has had to deal with. So I'm not going to get into that. You can Google that yourself. Recently, as of November 23rd, 2017. But there are issues that I think is important to bring out is the quality of the building, what they intend to build, whether it be 300 or 400. The quality of what they build seems to be in question. There are stucco damage, water damage, roofing material is shoddy, faulty construction, failure to comply with building codes, houses that were built with vinyl bricks, whatever that might be, I'm not sure. They also, in their budget, have a while back, 2 years back, estimated a liability of $80 million that they needed to pay out, and it's currently at $324.4 million. So they recognize that what they're building is not going to withstand even 10 years of time. The Consumer Affairs website also has leaky windows, defective heaters, mold, foundation damage. Trusses is not attached. Well, I would think that would be an important thing. So somehow, in the beginning of all of this, once they get whatever they have in their pre-approval and all that handled, who is really going to look at what the house, how the house is built, and the quality of the house? Because they have many, many issues with even the state of Pennsylvania attorneys. So I think that those things need to be thought about and considered, especially if you are in any way considering 400 houses versus 300 houses. And the other thing that I think that the board would need to really consider is the value of the area where Mr. Robinson's house stands. So the area where the Brandywine battle was actually fought. I haven't heard anything that was a real give back to the community that they started on the first meeting. I haven't heard any reason to say, hey, yay, this will be nice. I can't think of one. So maybe that's the consideration, would be that part of that area may be up to the fence. Let them build the houses along 202 and let the new people put up with the 202 traffic. And keep them off of 926. I don't know how they're going to get in and out of their community. All of you need to drive down Pleasant Grove Road. All of you need to look at the traffic on New Street, because that's not insignificant either.
Ma'am, you've hit your 4 minutes, so if you wouldn't mind trying to wrap up.
I actually do, I have. So I wanted to just say thank you for your consideration of all the facts that are not necessarily talked about. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Pomerantz is at the microphone, and then on deck we have Richard Weaver at 1014 South Chester Road. So after Mr. Pomerantz is Mr. Weaver.
Pat, tell me if this is loud enough for you.
Mr. Pomerantz, I've never had a problem hearing you before.
Okay. Dick Pomerantz, Richard Pomerantz, 1005 Robin Drive. I'm chairman of the West Town Planning Commission. I want to make sure that everybody understands I'm not here speaking as the chairman of the West Town Planning Commission, nor am I here to represent any point of view other than my own as a 30-plus year resident. Many of those who are here had the opportunity to hear and to sit through the Planning Commission proceedings that took place and the 40-plus conditions that were recommended. I'm not here to discuss those. But this does lead me to 3 points I'd like to make, and it's for the attention of the board. First, on behalf of the residents, a thank you to the board for your diligence in listening to the hours upon hours of expert testimony. And I know more than those sort of the members of the PC, we know that as many hours as you put in here is as exponentially more of what you've had to read. So more power to you. And thank you for listening. Second, I took the liberty to review all the minutes of every PC meeting with Toll, as well as every single page of every transcript of each of the meetings with the Board of Supervisors. And there's one comment that Andrew from Toll made in response to a question during the PC meeting that still resonates. He basically was asked the question, from everything that you've heard, and he was asked this at almost every meeting, have you heard anything that has helped change your mind? And he said, no, I want to keep hearing and listening to all the way to the end. Respectfully, it would appear that as of this point, from what I've read, there's been no flexibility on the part of Toll. They have, as everybody would have expected, they've argued against about everything. And if they've agreed to any change of plans, I simply haven't seen them, but of course I may be looking in the wrong places. In fairness, I took Toll at face value to be open to any of the ideas, any of the recommendations, any thoughts of expert testimony, as well as the residents. Instead, I think what we've seen, and I say this with respect, is intransigence. It's been the Toll way or no way. And I understand the job that both Andrew and Greg have to do. They both have their jobs to do, and I respect both of them, as I do with the Robinson family. One of my favorite comments or pieces of literature in the Pulitzer is the Pulitzer Prize-winning Profiles in Courage by John Fitzgerald Kennedy, and this is really for the board. As you decide and make a decision as to where you're going to take this process to, I want to remind you, if you haven't read the book, read it. It has to do with the challenges that people had to make, that range from conflict to moral leadership, and the different decisions they had to make where they didn't go for the expedient decision. And in so doing, they showed graceful courage under the most intense pressure. And thus, if you feel that Toll has demonstrated a genuine concern and care for West Town in terms of their proposal, of Toll's proposal, that Toll has demonstrated a sincere understanding of how important Crebilly has been to us, and that their proposal reflects the history and understanding of the history and cultural character of the township, then if you decide to approve, then hopefully you'll approve it with the almost 4 dozen conditions that were suggested or proposed or recommended by the Planning Commission. However, should you conclude that Toll's interests have not sufficiently reflected that of what Crebilly has meant to the township, and instead has looked at Crebilly as a piece of property to fill with houses strewn across its landscape, instead of it understanding that for us in this township, it's an iconic centerpiece of our township. And if you understand that, and if you see it that way, then I strongly and respectfully encourage you to take the road less crowded and much more challenging by voting no to this development. And then find a way, and then hopefully, through the leadership of the board, township manager, Mr. McKenna, the good faith of the Toll and Robinson family, find a way to make the Robinson family whole and Toll whole, while at the same time allowing Crebilly to remain the soul of our township. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pomerantz. Actually, Mr. Pomerantz, if you wouldn't mind, Jody, can you grab that from him? We'll collect any of the written statements that you have. Again, we're marking them collectively as a board exhibit. Richard Weaver is at the microphone, and on deck is David Raab, R-A-A-B, of 112 Macroom Avenue.
My name is Richard Weaver, and I'm a resident of the township at 1014 South Chester Road. I've been a resident of the township now for 32 years, and I basically have one overriding question to the Board of Supervisors, and that is, other than for the additional tax revenue that this development will bring, I would like to hear one benefit that this development is going to bring to the residents of this township. You put out a lot of public notice of how important the residents of Westtown are, and that Westtown is its residents. This development is going to do nothing but create problems for your residents. And I cannot see any possibility that the increased tax revenue has of coming close to balancing that loss to your residents. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Raab, David Raab? No comment. Thank you. Marilyn Powell? Okay. Ellen Steele? Thank you, ma'am. Bob Dahl, 1163 Lake Drive.
Hi, I'm Bob Dahl, 1163 Lake Drive, and I'm a 35-year resident of Westtown Township. I just have an observation and then a request. There have been many issues raised over the past year, such as the traffic situation, the schools, taxes, waste treatment, and the history of this piece of property. My primary concern that's already been addressed here very succinctly over the past 15-20 minutes, and that's the traffic situation. I think we can all agree that a minimum of 700 vehicles will be added to the traffic congestion that already exists along Route 926 between 202 and South New Street. And I don't see where any of the proposed recommendations of the traffic engineers would resolve this problem. My request is and I ask the supervisors, when you're deciding how to vote on this project, that you please give a lot of weight, well, to all the issues, because they're all important, but to the traffic issue, and that you also give weight to the fact that your vote will either maintain the beautiful landscape that we have at Crebilly Farm, or you will change it permanently. So I ask you to give those matters a lot of weight when you're making your decision on how you're going to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dahl. Gloria Dahl is at the microphone. Jennifer Cramer is next after Ms. Dahl.
I live at 1163 Lake Drive. Lake Drive is in between New Street and Birmingham Road, right off Route 926. My first comment, I want to applaud Mr. Vosberg for mentioning the wells. If the wells were to get damaged by this development, I also feel Toll Brothers should fix the water problems that would result. Aside from that, I'm addressing the township supervisors. I'm not going to repeat what has been discussed regarding traffic, emergency vehicles, not being able to drive through, and the possibility of having to build a new school and the history and environment. I ask the township supervisors to think of the citizens in this room and other residents of the area before you cast your vote. Think of the fact that none of us want 300 plus new homes in our area. Think of how this would impact Westtown. I would like to mention that the Crebilly farm site could benefit the community by making it into a year-round facility. It could be used for daycare, winter and summer sports, wedding venue, biking and hiking trails. I implore you, the township supervisors, to think of the citizens of our beautiful township before you cast your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Jennifer Cramer is at the microphone, and after her is, I believe it's Kirsten Cramer of 1046 Dunvegan. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, first of all, I'd like to thank the board for their work so far. My family has lived on Dunvegan Road since 1980, and I have lived here my entire life. So we are clearly invested in Westtown's development and improvement. I know others have mentioned it, but I am also going to talk about the traffic. I've been very skeptical of the due diligence done towards the traffic studies. I attended Representative Comita's meeting with PennDOT earlier this year, and it seems like Toll's plans largely correspond with PennDOT's plan to alleviate current traffic, not with the additional 1,200 or so trips per day. Furthermore, their studies completely neglected the considerable traffic that travels the 202 through Jacqueline Drive, which
Ma'am,
not...
Can I just ask you to slow down just a little bit, because the reading is a little difficult. I apologize, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's fine. Furthermore, their studies completely neglected the traffic that goes to Jacqueline Drive through to 202, which not only impacts those Westtown residents, but also my family personally. We have attended every meeting regarding this matter, and absolutely no projections have been made about traffic coming out of the West Pleasant Grove exits from the carriage homes and cutting through Dunvegan Road to get to New Street in the event of traffic, and then to Jacqueline Drive and 202. Our neighborhood has many pedestrians and children and no sidewalks, and any increase in non-neighborhood traffic is a cause for concern, much less increased traffic by irritated commuters. Added to the financial and environmental impact of the build and the loss of scenic views and historic resources, there's nothing about this development which benefits Westtown residents, only significant threats to our quality of life and potentially our safety. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is Kirsten Cramer? No comment? Thank you, ma'am. Leonard Mazacarri is next at the microphone. And after Mr. Mazacarri is Ann Repetto. No comment. Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. I'd like to make a brief statement, since I haven't won lottery yet. Tonight, I believe everyone here knows how I stand on Crebilly Farm, but the position of the board should especially consider the recommendations of the planning board, which Toll Brothers Development can't comply with. I suggest with the traffic problems in township already, and with specific 202-926 problems, that the traffic study presented by Toll Brothers is totally inaccurate, and a study and development would multiply congestion. As far as sewerage, the drip system for which the 300 homes in the township, which already has had approval from the Pennsylvania Environmental Protection Agency, I assume that's the right one, to proceed with what I think is monumental in a good 4-year plan. Why should we consider a drip system? Bring back the 10-acre subdivision settlement, if not farming. I submit that to the township supervisors.
Thank you, Mr. Mazacarri. Next at the microphone is Amy Harkins, and after Ms. Harkins is Ken and Ann Kanjan of Bracken Court. Amy Harkins, to the mic. No comment? Okay. Ken or Ann Kanjan? Thank you, sir. I'm sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly.
Ken Canyon from 742 Bracket Court. My wife Anne Marie is with me. I'd like to open my comments by saying I respect the